So yeah guys, today we will be starting with the portfolio. We will be again understanding the structure. So we will be starting with portfolio, and let me just show you the screen. And yep. So as you can see, this is what we'll be starting with. Yes, tomorrow is the last day guys. And this is what we will be building. And if I scroll it down, today we'll be starting with the HTML part. We'll again look at the structure and what are the things we require, what are the elements we would require to make each and every component, and then we'll start with. So first we'll look at the nav bar. We'll talk about what are the components we'll require, then we'll code for it, then we'll move on to the next one, then we'll code for it, then move on further, then we'll code for it, and so on. We'll go like this. And yeah, we will be talking about each of the sections. Let's wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll start with it. Then we'll start with HTML. What have I done till now? What have I done? We have an online ID. We are working with Replit, replit.com. So you can view the website, you can create your free account, you can start working on it. What do we have? We have a simple HTML, CSS and JavaScript template. What do we have inside it? If you try to see that, we have only 3 files. We have an index.js file, we have a style.css file, and we have an images folder. So why do we have an images folder? As you can see, we have some images. This way we will look at two different forms or ways in which we can import images on our website. So this one is something present from the internet. So this is what I am, you can say, extracting from the internet. And at the bottom, as you can see, this is the one. This basically, these images, the icons which we have here, for them we have this images folder. So if you see the images folder, you will see that we have Svg icons. We have Svg format icons. So CSS icon, Firebase icon, HTML, JavaScript, MongoDB, Node.js. We have all sorts of icons which we require for a skill set. In our skill set, okay, we have those icons. So guys, anyone familiar with why we are using Svg icons? Anyone knows advantage of using a Svg icon? Anyone familiar with graphic designing, or they know what Svg is really different from PNG or JPG or JPEG? Anyone? So basically, if you develop a website, yes. So if you develop a website and you have ever used PNG or any other image, if you try to zoom into it, you would find that after some time the pixels would break. So if I zoom into this image, which I'm not able to do at this point, I don't know why, but if you try to zoom into this image, let's try to do it. There will be a point when this image will shatter. It would look weird. You can see the content starts to smudge. But if we go at the bottom, if we move at the bottom, if we try to see our icons, you would see that they are not getting smudged. They have no difference, or you can say problem. We have no problem seeing them. Why? Because they don't have pixelated, you can say, images. They don't have pixelated size. As you can see, our icons are as it is. They're not getting shattered. As I zoom into it, you will see they're getting more sharper and sharper, right? Whereas if I talk about any other image on my screen, you would find that it gets pixelated. Its screens, you can say, you would find that after some time they look smudged. You can see here at this point, if I zoom in a little more, you would find that it is getting blurrier, a blur. So for that, we use something known as Svg icons. So what is the difference between Svg icons? Svg icons are vectors. They're made with vector graphics. So the colors and everything filled inside it, it's not pixelated format. They, you can say, scale themselves according to the image or resolution. As I zoom into it, you would find that they are not getting shattered or they're not getting blurrier. That's why we use something known as SVG logos. Most of the company logos, most of the logos wherever you find, you would find them to be of format SVG. Yes, scalable vector graphics, right? That is a full form of SVG. As you can see, the names suggest scalable. They're scalable. The time you zoom into it, they doesn't get affected. So yeah, let's start with it. Let's start with the first, you can say, section which we have. So basically the first section which we would create is this, the outer. You can say we have a card inside which we have whole content. So if we start annotating, you can see we have this card, right? We have this card, blurry card. And inside this we have every single content. So first we'll make this card. There is nothing you can say difficult about it. It is just a card, or you can say tag we are using for this is main. We are using a main tag to create this card. Okay, so let's create that. It would take not more than 5 seconds to do that. Yes, so we go back. This is our basic file, and we have a styles.css file. Styles.css file, as you can see, is empty at this point. We will write some code inside it on day 2. So we are in index.html. We have imported the styles.css file and linked to our HTML file. We go to the body, and the first thing which we said we need to do is create a main tag. So you can see I created a main tag. That's it. So what I've done, I have created this outer container. We don't need to worry about the designing and how the real output looks at this point. It would definitely not look like this because we don't have any styling. We are just trying to make the structure, whatever structure we have. Now if we talk about the second important thing, the navigation bar, which has different types of navigation links. So how to build that? So basically this is the navigation link, right? So you can see this is the navigation section. And what are the things you can see? We have on the left, we have a heading. On the right, we have some content. And if you observe that all the content is shifted, or you can say pushed to the right side. How can we do that? We want each of the content to be pushed to the right side. You can do that by adding all of this inside a div. So all this content is inside a div. This is simply nothing. This is just a h1 tag. So we have a h1 tag and we have a div tag. And what are these then? These are some, you can say, clickable links. So what are these? These are 4 A tags, anchor tags, as we talked about. Anchor tags. This is also an anchor tag. This is also an anchor tag. So what do you basically need to do? You need to create a nav element, or let me write it down here. You need to create a nav element. Inside that nav tag, you need to write a h1 tag and you need to create a div. Inside the div, you need to create 4 A tags. Simple. And this is your nav bar created. Let's do that. Let's build that. So if we clear everything, yeah, you can definitely use a head as well. Rather than using a nav bar, you can use a header tag as well if you want. Or header ke andar you can also do something like keep a header. Inside the header you can say your navigation tab, but that's optional. So what do we need to do? We need to create, as we said, a nav bar. So we'll use the nav tag. Inside the nav tag, what did we say we want? Inside the nav tag we want a div, right? We want a div. This will contain all the right side content, and on the left what we want a h1. So make sure you arrange them in the format you want them to be displayed on the screen. So on the left I want a h1, therefore this is first. On the right I want a div in which I would have all the content. What is all the content? 4 A tags. So we have A tags. What do A tags have? A tags also have something known as href. So a href attribute makes a tags capable, anchor tags capable of linking to new files, or you can say new pages. But if you click on any of these tags, are we getting to a new page? No, we are not. So we are just getting directed to the section on the same page. We are getting directed to the section on the same page. We are not going to a new page. This can also be done, and let's talk about that. So basically, you have a nav. Inside the nav, you have a heading. What is the heading? I would write my name. So basically, this is the heading. Aditya Gusai portfolio, right? So this is the heading. What is inside A tags? There are 4 A tags. The first one refers to the About Me section. If I copy it, as it will be the same. The second one refers to something known as Skills section. The third one refers to Projects section. And the fourth one, as you see, refers to Let's Connect, the form, the last form. So what do you write there? Let's connect. Right, we have made 4 A tags. We don't need the sidebar. We are only going to work in HTML. So let's close it. You can see we have h1, we have our content, we have a div. Inside div, we have that. But now let's talk about how to link these to different sections. So if you want to link these A tags to different sections on the page, and whenever you click on it, it should take you to the section. You need to write, or you need to create an ID for each of these sections. So you need to create an ID for this section, a unique ID for skill section, a unique ID for project section, and a unique ID for form section. So what do you need to do here? You write hash and you specify the ID of the section on which you want it to direct you, or which you want it to take you to. So where do I want it to take me to? I want it to take me to About Me, right? The second tag, where do I want my skills attribute to take me to? I want it to take me to the skill named ID element. I want it to take me to projects named, and I want it to take me to contact form. So these are the IDs am I using. Yeah, definitely. This is what I'm making in my reference. So whatever content you see here, it is being referred to me because I am the one who is making the portfolio. When you are the one who is making the portfolio, you will write your content, you will paste your photo, you will write your name, you will write your designation. Everything would be yours because you are making it for you. What is the sense of making a portfolio if you can't make it for yourself, right? We are doing that. We haven't shared the attendance link, guys. I will share the attendance link shortly. Yeah, so we have completed with the first one. We are done with it. This is it. So if you try to see the output, let's open the sidebar. We just want to see the output. This is the output screen. If we try to play it, what do we see? This, you can see this nowhere looks like something like this, right? It looks totally different. Why? Because we haven't added any styles, and we won't be adding them today. We will be adding them tomorrow. So let's move further. Let's create the another section. Let's move out of nav. We need to create another section. Which is another section? Which is the other section we have? So the another section which we have here at this point, let's get back to our pen. So yeah, this is another section, right? So what do we need for this section? Let's mark it down. This is the another section we are talking about. And what do we have? On the left, we have an image. On the right, we have 2 headings, right? Nothing else. But these 2 need to be at the right. This one needs to be at the left. So how can we do that? We'll simply add an image tag. we'll create this image, but at the right these two contents need to be together. So for these we'll create first a container div. Inside the div, yeah, this is a hero section. So inside the div we'll be creating two tags, you can say first one and second one. This would be for this is according to my reference what I feel it should be. You can definitely change it. I want this to be h1 and I want the second, the subheading, or you can say my designation to be h3. You can change them, you can change the sizes, you can change any other tag, you can use any other tag, you can customize it totally on you. So these are the things I'm using, and for this I'm simply using a section. So I have a section tag. Inside this section I have on the left an image, on the right I have a div. Inside the div I have a h1 and a h2. So let's erase everything. That is it. That are the things we see on the screen, and let's create it. Okay, let's do it. Guys, you don't need any image resources. You can use your own image. This is what I am pasting for myself, right? You can find it out on the internet, or if you want for you can say if you want them for icons, if you want them specifically for something like this. So if you want them for the svg logos which I'm using, right, for the skill section, I will provide them to you. Okay, after the class I will provide a link from where you can download these or different skill icons. I will do that. I'll provide you with that. So let me see if I have that in my readings list present. Yeah, I have that. Let's just, so the website name is svgrepo.com. So okay, I'm pasting the link for you guys so you can refer. This is the link from where you can download different svg icons for different skills. I have marked it, I've pinned it, so you can just have a screenshot of it and you can use it. So as you can see, I've searched for Node.js and I got a Node.js icon. If I search for React or HTML, I can get the HTML icon. There are many options. Out of these options, you can download any one of them, and they are all present inside a SVG format. Yeah guys, at the end of this, I will also be sharing all the content, all the code with you. Okay, so you will get all the code and everything. So don't worry about that. Let's create this section. So as we said, what we need is basically a section. We create a section. What am I doing? Yes. So I create a section. I close the section tag. Inside the section, what do we have? Inside this section, we have on the left a image, only image. On the right, a div. So we create an image tag, and that's it. Then we have a div. So how exactly do you copy, or you can say you get an image from the internet? Okay. So for example, I want to get my bootcamp image. So I go to my website. You can refer to any other, you can say simply search for an image on Google. I go to the website shapeai.tech. I see my bootcamp. I find my bootcamp. Yes. So where is my bootcamp? Yes. This is the image I want. How do I get it? I inspect for it and I just find it out. How can I do it? Okay. So I right click on it. I inspect it. If you find it out from internet, let's do it. Let's do that because it will be much more easier. So let's search for avatar image. So guys, these kind of images you can see here, right? This is known as an avatar image. right? This, as you see, is known as an avatar. You right click on it, you right click on the image, whichever you want, and you select copy image address. What will it do? It will copy the online internet present URL. So if I copy and paste the URL here, and if I refresh it, you can see I got the image. That's what you need to copy. Right click on it, copy image address, and you get back here in the replit. In the image, you add a source, and what do we have in the source? We paste the online link. So this is how you grab an image from the internet and you paste it here, right? Simply like that. You go to div. What do you have inside the div? You don't have a lot of things inside div. You have a h1. Inside that h1 you write some content. What is the content? Your name. So I'll write my name, and we have h3. Inside the h3, what do you have inside the h3? You have your designation. Your own designation. Yes. This way you are done with the second section as well. So if we try to see the output, at this point, you can see we have it. We have all the things. We have an image. We have Aditya Gosai, my name or your name, and on the bottom your designation. No, if the online image which you are targeting from the URL, if it is deleted, then you won't find it. So a better way would be, you go, you find an image. If always look for a copyright. So there are images which are free to use, and there are images which you cannot use because they have a copyright. You cannot use them in your accounts, or you can say in your projects. If you are showing it to multiple customers, or you can say online test projects, fine, you can do it. But if you show it in your you can say production versions, there can be a legal action taken against you. So always look for, you can say, free to use images. So how to download an image? If you want to save it, you right click on it and you click on save image as. It will be saved on your local server, or you can say your computer. Then you can use it. From there you upload it, or you save it inside a folder wherever you're working on. So if I show you the output on the Chrome tab, that's what you want, right? Let's open it up in a new tab. Let's open it up, open the website link in a new tab. Yeah, so this is how it looks. Nowhere related to this. This is because we have not added any styles. But when we add styles, you would see that it becomes exactly like this. Just the image would change from this to this. And now let's move further. We have made the second section, but now, still now, there is something we need to do. At this point, we have not added classes to them. We have made different sections, but for styling them, we also need to add classes. So let's add some classes to them. In the nav bar, we'll add a class, and let the class be named as Nav Bar. Okay, we have made a class. Through this, we can target this and add some styles. Guys, we'll talk about it. If you have a downloaded image and you are displaying it, then how to target it, how to get it. Everyone would be able to see it. If you have a downloaded image and you can say you include it in your project, then everyone can see it. But while uploading your project on a server or anything, while uploading your project, you will have to upload the images as well with it. We'll talk about that, how to do that. So we have a nav bar. See, I'm working on a replit IDE. That's why I'm getting my name on it. Okay. I'm working on an online IDE. You might be using VS Code and doing it with live server. That's why you're getting localhost. Okay. So what you need to do, we need to give classes so that we can apply styles to it. We give a class of nav bar. To this div we give a class, we'll target them later. Navigation menu, so this is the navigation menu div. To the second section we give it a class, and we specify the class to be hero section. This is the class. This is the, as you can see, this is the landing page, or this is the main hero page, or you can say whatever a person sees when he lands on this website, and that is why this is known as the hero section. The top section which a viewer sees at the first time he lands up on a page, that's known as a hero section. So yeah, we named it a hero section. Inside that we have an image. We name the image, we give it a class profile image, and to the div we give it a class saying hero section details. See, these are some names I'm giving on my behalf, what I think might be understandable for me. You give names on the basis of what you think you feel would be understandable for you. If you visit this project anytime in future, you might you should not feel like I don't know these class names or they're hard to read. That's why you see I am giving some long names, but even by reading that name I can understand that yeah, this is the hero section's details. So whatever on the right I have displayed on the hero section, that's where I am targeting, or that's these are the styles which I'm applying to them through this class. So give descriptive names, but not very large names, right? Short and descriptive names to classes. Let's move further. I don't think we need any other name. And yeah, we are good to move to the third section. So we have made the first these two sections. Let's move further. Yes, double quotes can also be used. I am using single quotes here. If you move them in, if you create them to double quotes, if you do double quotes, no issue. You can remove everywhere I've used single quotes to double quotes, that would work without a problem. If I run it, if I refresh this page, you would see there is no change. Everything looks fine the way it was earlier. So yeah, let's move to the third section, which is what I do. It is simple. It is pretty simple. So let's get back to annotation, and yeah, what do we need here? We need nothing. We need a section. Okay, we need a section. Inside that section, what do we have? Inside that section we have a heading at the center, nothing else. And then we have some content. This is a basic paragraph. So we have a section, inside the section we have a heading, and the bottom we have a paragraph. Guys, we won't be talking about any JavaScript. As I told you, this is more on UI basis. We will be focusing more on UI and stuff. We won't be getting into JavaScript integration. Maybe we might keep a separate, you can say, boot camp devoted to JavaScript, as JavaScript is, you can say, huge, and you can do a lot of things with it. So we won't be covering JavaScript. So yeah, so we talked about it. What do we need to do? Pretty simple. We go here, we create another section, and this time we will give the class name beside it, which is about me section, right? And now we need to also provide it with the ID. Why do we need to provide it with the ID? Because this is the thing because of which it will be able to target the A tag. So I provided that href is about me, and hash specifies that this is the ID. So it means that rather than opening into a new page, it would say that wherever you find the ID about me on this page, scroll down to that section. So I would write the same name which I write here, about me. I'll copy it, paste it here so that I don't do any typos. Guys, we don't have any button on the page on clicking on which we move to any other page. Okay, so we won't be needing any JavaScript. That's what I'm telling you. You can create this whole website and these whole sections without using a single bit of JavaScript. Yeah, you would require JavaScript when you're trying to save the data or send this data to the server, but we are not we are not talking about that part at this point. So yeah, we created an ID. We can close the section. We can write the ending of the section, the ending tag. And inside the section, what do we have? We simply have a h1. We have a h1, and then we have a paragraph. Nothing else. So what we'll do, we'll just copy paste the content. We'll not worry about it a lot. So this is my heading. I copy it. I go back. I paste it inside my h1. You can write your own heading if you want. If you don't find it to be more descriptive, you can write whatever this section is about. Give a descriptive heading. So I'm writing about what I do. Right, that's why I am writing this specifically. Or one more example. If you, for example, at a point don't have the content you want to display on a screen. For example, you're working for a company and the company does not provide you with the particular content to be displayed while you are designing it. It is very hard to really type out everything, right? Every single content, this amount of content, very hard to type out. So how can you find it out? You can use something known as lorem ipsum. What is lorem ipsum? Lorem ipsum is basically text generator. It can generate you random text. You can see random text generator. How to generate text? You can see I want paragraph. How many paragraphs? I want 5 paragraphs. Generate lorem ipsum. You can see it has generated you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. Automatically generated some random content. If you don't have the real content to be displayed at the point of when you're creating the website, you can use lorem ipsum to generate some random text to be displayed on your website and use it. You can definitely write it down, but time consuming. Why too? Right. There is no difference between divs and sections. This is just semantic tags. As we talked about, use tags which makes more sense. You are making a section, so use section tag. Right, don't use div tags. There is no difference in div and section tag. They work exactly the same. The styles are also same, the default styles. Only the reason that they make it more readable. You understand it, yeah, this is a section, that's why I'm using a section tag. So let's remove it. Let's apply some lorem ipsum. So as you can see, we have applied some lorem ipsum. We have made the third section as well. If we go back, if we refresh the page, we should have another section at the bottom. Yeah, we have it. What I do and some content. Let's move to the, you can say, very important section, skills and projects. Skills and projects section. How to create it. So yes, let's talk about it. Yep. So at top, we have a container. At the top, we have a container which contains both the cards. So as you can see, they are separate. These are something known as cards. Okay, let's create a little better, I would say, box. So we have a container. And inside the container, we have 2 cards. On the left one, on the right one. So we have a section. Inside that section, we have 2 separate, you can say, divs. We have it on the left. We have it on the right. So what are they? They are basic divs. Nothing fancy. So we have a div, we have, or you can say we have a section at the top. We have a section. Then inside this section, we have a div on the left. We have a div on the right. So 2 divs inside a section. Then this card represents the div, right? This card represents the same div. Inside the div, we have, you can say, a heading. Let's say this is a h1 heading. You can give it any type of heading. h1, you can keep it h2, you can keep it h3, whatever you think you want or whatever you think you should prefer. Attendance link would be shared, guys. I would provide you with the attendance link. Then the project on the right, also h1. We are using a h1. Okay, so let's erase the unnecessary ones. Yeah, we don't require them. So we are using a h1. On the left we simply have images. So after that we simply have images 3 4 5 6 7 8. We have a h1. On the bottom we have images. On the right, what do we have? For this it is a little different because they need to be aligned on the left and right. So how do we do that? We simply create a div. Whenever you need to align some content, you create a div. So we have a div. Inside the div we have some content on left, we have some content on right. Div is divided into two parts. On the left we have directly an image. On the right we have another div. Why? Because we want this content to be wrapped. So we have h1. Inside that we have a div. Inside the div we have an image. On the right we have another div, and inside that div we have a h4, and then we have a paragraph. So for wireframing, I would suggest that either use a pen pencil. That is the best option. But if you want, you can use any sketchboard types, you can say tools present online. Sketching tools to sketch them out. If you have, you can say a touchpad available at your home, you can do that. If you want to do it in a better way, or you can say in a way which most of the companies prefer, use something known as, you can say, Figma, or use something known as Sketch. These both are very good tools. You can do wireframing as well as designing as well. You can create this whole design and how your website would look inside Figma, or you can say Sketch. Yes, we are using a glass morphism. We are using this glass morphism. What is glass morphism? So the background, the card, the main, you can say the main tag which we used, right? The main tag which we used, it follows a technique known as glass morphism. What is glass morphism? As you can see, it has a glass finish, right? It has some blurrish glass finish. That is why it is known as a glass morphism. We'll talk about that. No need to focus on that and how it is done. It's just, you can say, you can just find it out online and do it. So yeah, so let's make this section. We go back and we create another section. Now we need to create another section. What do we have in the sections? We create a section. We give it a class. What do we want its class to be? We want its class to be skill and projects. Skills and projects. Why did we give it a name skills and projects? Because it is a container for both, right? It is a section which contains both of them. Slash section. Yeah, so we were building this section. So if we go to Replit, this is what we were doing. We created an image. With that image, we had a source connected to its src. We haven't done anything inside it. Then we have a title, right? Add the title. We can just close it. So why do we have a title? We were talking about that. So if you see, if I hover over any of the icons, if I hover over any of these icons, you can see I have this pop-up which says node.js. That's one. I want this on every single one of them, telling me what that icon exactly means. So a little bit of information about that icon. So let's say the first one shows HTML. So I'll write a title of HTML. Let's first not include or set their source. We want them, we want certain number of them. So how many do we have? So let's check. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, so we have 8 of them, so we need to replicate it 8 times. I guess we are done. Let's check the sequence. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Node.js. Let's write them down. So we have HTML, then we have a title of CSS, then we have a title of JavaScript, then we have a title of Node.js, then we have, after Node.js, we have React. After React, we have a title of MongoDB, then we have a title of Firebase, and then we have a title of Redux, right? We have all the titles at the places. Now let's talk about the image source. So the earlier one, the first image which we imported right here, this avatar image, it was from internet. But now the image which we want to import here is not from the internet. We have our folder. Inside the folder, we have an images folder, and inside the images folder, I have all the images. So from there, I want them to be displayed on the screen. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible easily without any problem. How to do that? We go to the source, we write there slash images, and then inside that I want it to be HTML, html.svg. So this is the extension. So I move inside the images folder, and this is known as relative path. Why is it known as relative path? Because I am finding the path of the folder with respect to this index.html file. So I'm saying wherever I have my index.html file, there look for a folder named images, and inside that folder look for html.svg file, right? html.svg. Similarly, I write I want to go to images folder. Inside that I want to look for css.svg file. Similarly, I want to go to images folder and I want to look for javascript.svg file. Similarly, I go to images folder, and then inside that I want to look for Node.js, right? So we have node.svg. Then I want to go to images folder and I want to look for react.svg. Then I want to go inside the images folder and I want to look for mongodb.svg, and last two images slash it is for firebase.svg, and the last which is for and in this we want it to be Redux, right? We want it to be redux.svg. So we have all the links. So what we have done, we have created the left section. Now let's create the right div or the right card. So how to do it? Inside the section we create another div. We name the class to be projects. We get it ID. We have an ID for it as well, because we want it to be present inside the nav bar as well. So we get projects, and then we close the div, and inside this section we write something, right? We write some content. What do we have? As we can see, we have a heading, or you can say the section heading, and then we have a div. So what do we have? Inside that we have a h1, and it will have the same class which we had here, because they, as you see, if you see that this heading and this heading are the same, right? They have same styles, so we gave them same name. So we give them a class, same class, and then we just change the name inside it, which is projects. Then we create a div at the bottom. Inside the div, we have some content. Not given, guys. Just wait for it. I'll provide you with the attendance link, guys. Just let us just finish this section and then we'll talk about the attendance link. We will talk about it. So we create a div. Inside the div, we want to have an image, right? We want to have an image which has some source. Let's put a dummy image. So we'll go to images folder and we'll write from the css.svg. That is image which I want there. Then we have another div. As I said, that for this content to be on the right, this all needs to be inside a div, because they need to be aligned to each other on the left, on the right. So we need to create another div, and inside that div we need to create a h4, which is the project name, and after that we need to create a paragraph and we add some content inside it. Inside the h4 you write project name. This is a placeholder. You write your own project name, and in the bottom you write some description about it. So we just copy the description, we just paste it here. So we have the description. To the div we also need to style it, so we give it a name. What do we name it as? Project container, right? And as you can see, what we have done now, we have created only one of them, this one. The second one, you can see we need to create it. So if you want to add one, this is one, right? Actually I think yeah, I named it wrong. So this one, this class name needs to be here, because this contains all the project container, and this one should be project description, because it contains project description. Yes. So now this contains a single project. So if I copy it and I paste it 2 more times, then I have 2 more projects. So I have in total 3 projects which will be displayed on the right side, and on the left I would have 8 icons. So if we run it, and if we don't have any error, if we save it, we go here, we refresh the page, we should be able to see all the images. At the time these images are very huge, right? We have a scale name, then we have first image, second image, third image, fourth image, fifth image, right? React is very large, sixth image, seventh image, eighth image. And yeah, if you hover over it for a while, you can see we have the name Redux. Then we have the project section. We have on the left the logo of the project, and then after that we have the project name and some project description. Similarly, another project name, project description. At the time the images are very wide, we'll talk about them, how to decrease their size, because we need to decrease all of these sizes, right? Images are very huge at this point. We'll talk about that when we are working with CSS. Yes, we can add a scroll button in the skill and project section, like that. Both of these cards should be of same height, and then inside them you can scroll just inside them. We can do that. I'll tell you how to do that as well. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Okay, so we have made the second section as well. The last section, very simple. We will not make it now, we will make it tomorrow. Okay, we'll talk about it, how to make it. It won't take more than 5 or 6 minutes. So now let me just share with you the attendance link. So yeah, just wait for a sec. So this, I'm sharing you guys the attendance link. Just wait for a sec. I am sharing the attendance link. Guys, I'm using Replit at this time. So the time you do edit in it, it automatically saves it. But to see the output, you can see we have another section on the right to see the output. If you want to see the output after saving your file, you click on this play button. You have a link as well. If you click on it, you copy it, you open it in a new link as I have. You can see the output here in a single page. So let's move forward. We have looked at and we have made these sections. We have made all of these sections. Now one more thing to discuss. We have made these sections, but one important thing we have not done. As we can see here, if you try to just decrease the size, you will see that it is responding to it, and if it doesn't feel like it has more space to show, it will go to the new line, right? So to do this, we'll be using two things. In this section, we'll be using flex boxes. In this, we'll be using flex boxes, the properties which we learned. This does not require any flex box. This, in the same case, requires flex box. Then if we move further, yeah, this also requires flex box. This also requires flex box. But here, in this projects and skills and projects section, we won't be using flex boxes. We'll be using something known as grids. So there are two, you can say basically two simple techniques with the help of which you can achieve this. With the help of grids or with the help of flex boxes. So we'll be using both of them, and at this point we have only worked with their, you can see, HTML part. We'll start working with this CSS part tomorrow. We'll be, or you can say we'll be a little bit more faster than this. Today we'll be covering the CSS portion. So whatever you need to do, we'll talk about that in CSS. But before that, at the last, we did not add a section which is necessary, the contacts section. So we'll talk about that. So today, as we have to cover a lot of CSS, there are a lot of new, you can say, properties of CSS you would be learning about. So what I've done is I have just copied and pasted the section, and I'll just brief you out on how to create it, because it's going to be little bit same to the previous sections which we have created. So if I give you a little bit brief of how exactly we are creating, you can see we are talking about which section, the last contact section, which we did not complete yesterday. So this is the section. What we have done in the section, we have created the section tag. Inside the section tag, we have a class so that we can give it styles. Which class we have? Contact form. A ID of contact form, as it is also present in the navigation bar and it is attached to the anchor tag. Then after that, we have a simple heading saying let's connect. And at the bottom, we have separate divs for each input field. Separate divs for each input field, and at the end we have a button. Simple. So in each of the div, we have named the class to be form group. Why? Form group, because of the fact that it is containing two things: form label as well as form input. So the label for the first input is full name. So you enter your full name, and this is the placeholder, the input tag which we talked about. Then we have the label email and then the related input for it. Then we have a label of message and the related text area. So you can see this time we are not using input. We are using something known as text area. This is something new. So why are we using text area? So basically, if we run this, if we go to our output, as you can see, we have still not added CSS. But if we go to the bottom, and we see that this is a text area. So we don't want a single field. We don't want to write a single line. A message we want to write. And the message which we want to write might be more than one lines. And therefore, that's why we use a text area and not a simple input. So we are using a text area. How to use a text area tag? If you go back, you can see we have a text area tag. We have a starting, we have an ending. starting tag, ending tag. In the starting tag, we are specifying some attributes. What are the attributes? Placeholder. If you go back, you can simply see we have a placeholder text. We are saying send some message. You write some message there. Then after that, we have ID. We have an ID of message because we want this to be targeted here. That's why we have given it an ID of message, nothing else. Then we have a name. And then we have row and column. What does row and columns depict? So rows 4 means that I want the default number of rows to be 4. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 lines I'm getting. This is because of the attribute which I specify in text area, which is rows, and columns is 50. If I increase it to something like 80, 90, 100, let's increase it to 100. And let's see when we run it, what is the difference. If we refresh it, you can see now the width has increased. Why? Because it is considering the column's length to be 100 words in the sense. So let's move it back to whatever it was, which was 50. Guys, it has been 6 days and still now people are writing present sir in the chat box. I don't get it, guys. What is the problem? Everyone knows that you get the attendance link after the class or maybe in between the class, and you are supposed to fill that, not write present sir in the chat box. Come on, guys. So yeah, this is the section we were talking about. Now we'll start with the CSS, and before starting with it, like we will be starting with styles.css. So if I move to styles.css, you would see that I have added some, you can say default styles. Why? Because these styles are not necessary for you to understand. Why? Because these are the styles we are using for styling the card, the outer card or the background, which are not necessary for you to, compulsory for you to understand. So I have just copied and pasted in here, but we will go through them one by one as well. We'll talk about them and how to use them as well. So let's move further. And yeah, let's talk about them one by one. So as you can see on the top, what do you see? On the top, we have just a basic import. And what is this import? We are importing a font. What is the name of the font? I am importing a Poppins font. Where am I importing it from? There is a website which is known as Google Fonts. From there, I am importing a font, and that is the one. I'm importing a font, and this is how you import a font. We'll talk about that, how to really get this URL, how to import a specific font which you like at the end. Not necessary at this point. So as you can see, I've imported a font, and yeah, I'll also provide you a link, a CodePen link, so that you can access all of this. So after that, you can see we have a comment saying styles for background. So these styles which I have applied are for the background. So let's uncomment them one by one and let's understand what we are doing in each of these. So if I uncomment it, you can see this is a before tag. No need to worry about it first. Let's first talk about the simple body tag. So what do you see inside the body tag? The first thing which we have inside the body tag is the font family. So we imported the font, but we are not still using it anywhere. So how to use it? You specify the font family, the name of the font. So I'm using the Poppins font. Which family it is from? Sans serif. I want a background image. So at the background, I don't want to apply color. There is a property known as background image. You provide a URL, and in the brackets you provide a specific URL, and that is treated as a background. So if we copy this, we try to open it in a new link. Let's see what we get. I'm opening it in a new link. Okay, so it is just downloading the image. So we'll talk about that. We'll just display it here at the bottom. I thought that it will show, but it is just downloading the image. So we have this image. This is the URL. I have imported an image from a website. As you can see, I've right clicked on an image and selected the image URL, image source, and I've copied it and pasted it here. And that would be acting as my background. So the shapes, the colored shapes which you were seeing, that is my background. Then we have a background size and a background position. We'll talk about them when we talk about our images, or you can say our profile image. So when you create an image and if you give your image a fixed size, when you give an image a fixed size, then there might be a problem that when you change the screen size to different screens, you might not see the image properly. And why is that? The reason you don't see the image properly, it seems to be smudged or you can say shattered, is because you are not applying these two properties. What does they do? They say that I want the image to cover the whole area, whatever it has been specified to. It should act like a banner, a cover. And secondly, I want it to be from the center. So it means that I'm saying background position center. So it means that my image should always start from the center point of the image, and center point of my div inside which I have the image should match. And what does background size cover do? It tells that don't smudge the image. If there is some extra space or extra image which is not able to be displayed on that screen, just let it be. Just let it crop out. Let's move to the next line and we get something. We get something which is known as display flex. So what is display flex? We are simply saying that the content which we are trying to show inside the main body, we want it to be of display flex. Justify content center. As we studied earlier, the justify content center centralizes the content horizontally in the x-axis, and align item center centralizes the content vertically in the x-axis, in the y-axis. Flex direction column. What we are saying, we want the direction of the content, the flow of the content to be in a column direction. We want a padding of 2 em. So if you have seen the output, you would see if we try to run this. If we try to run this line of code, if we move here, we refresh the page. We move to the top and you can see the background is being applied, right? The only reason we can't see it properly is because the images on the front are so big. But you can see this is my background, this zigzag. This is my background, and on the top of it you can see this glassy finish. This is what? This is my card over it on which I show all the content. I'm giving a padding. I'm saying that I want an inner spacing of 2 EMs. You can even specify it to be rems. Then we have a width of 100% and a height of 100 view height, which says that I want it to take 100% width and 100% view height. Then let's uncomment the next section. This is a media query. What is a media query? This tells your screen. So if I play it, this tells your screen that if I reach the end point of 480 pixels, so if my screen when trying to reduce, it reaches at a point when it is 480 pixels wide, then after that apply on the body a padding of 0.8 em. So earlier by default the padding was 2 em. The padding on the left and right was 2 em. But the time my screen reaches 480 pixels, so if I shrink my screen's width, as I'm saying minimum width, so when my screen shrinks and it reaches at the point when it reaches 480 pixels, then I'm saying that replace this initial padding of 2 em and replace it with the padding of 0.8 em. Then yeah, so we have only this media query, nothing big. Let's move further. What do we need to do? Now we need to apply something known as main. What is main doing? So as we told that our content is being displayed in a glass morphism. What is glass morphism? If you go to the output again, yes, you can see it has, this is a, you can see a top, a cover, right? And you can see this is a card, but it does not still have a glass morphism finish. You can see through it. I want it to look a little bit blurrier. How can I do that? I can do that by adding some blur effects. How to do that? First, I set a background color. And this is my background color for my main. What is my main? The inner div. The inner main content, every content is being displayed inside this main tag. Then we have a display of flex. Then we have a flex direction of column. We all know what it does. Align item aligns the content in flex start. It means that align item in the y direction. Align the items from the top, not from the center, from the top. Then maximum width of 1250 pixels. What does it mean? It means that my main, if my screen size increases, if this width increases greater than what? Greater than 1250 pixels, then my main won't increase. It means that restrict my main to have a maximum width of 1250 pixels. So if your screen size increases greater than 1250 pixels, your main, the main content, the main card won't be increasing. It would remain the same. So how to apply a blur? So as you can see at this point, we don't have a blur. How to apply a blur? We simply say we want the background filter. We want to apply a backdrop filter. What is the backdrop filter? I want to apply a blur of 20 pixels. So if we run this, everything else not necessary for you to know now at this point. If we go back, we refresh the page once again after saving our changes. You can see, yes. Now you can see that our content now it is inside a card. Now it is being displayed inside a card, right? Let me do it to 100% so that we can see exactly how it should look at this point. Yeah. So as you can see, we have added a blur. We have a background. On the background at the top, we have a card. At the top, this is the card, and inside the card, we have our content. We have all the content included inside the card. But at this point, as you can see, my whole card is scrolling. I don't want this. I don't want my whole card to scroll. I want only the content present inside it. Only this content inside the card to scroll. How can I do that? I need to apply some scrollable properties. Before that, let's apply some universal tags or universal properties. So we go to the next line. We write here that I want to apply universal selector. This is a comment. This is a basic comment. What is a universal selector? Star is a universal selector. This selects every single tag and applies some properties to it. What do I want to apply? I am saying I want the outline of none. And I want a box sizing of border box. So what exactly are these two properties doing? So outline none means that if you did not have this property earlier, and if you had any button on your, you can say, output or on your screen, then when that button was trying to be clicked, it would show a outline. So if we have a button, when we click on it, we don't see anything. But if we did not have this line of code outline none, then whenever you click on this button at the bottom, you would see an outline outside it, a bordered outline. I don't want that, and that's why I said I want all the outlines, whatever tag I'm using, whichever tag I'm using, I want no outlines on them. And I'm saying box sizing of border box. What does that mean? It means that to every tag, I'm writing universal selector. It means that to every tag, whichever tag I'm using inside my body, if they have a padding on the x-axis, so if they have a padding on the left, if they have a padding on the right, I want that to be included inside my width. What does that mean? It means that, for example, this is my tag, this is my, maybe this is my h1 tag, and if this h1 tag has a padding on the left and right, initially it was not getting included in the width. When its width was getting calculated, it was only counting the content. But now when the width gets calculated with the property border box, it says that I would also consider the padding on the left and right to be considered inside the width. That's just for the case that my website does not look a little weird in terms of spacing. You can say this is something which you always try to include. Even if you don't include outline none, not a problem. But whenever you create a project, you would definitely use box sizing of border box in the universal selector. Let's move further and let's talk about smooth scrolling. So we have something known as smooth scrolling. No need to worry about. So inside the HTML, what we need to do is we need to write scroll behavior. Guys, at this point, if you are not getting anything at this point, if you're not getting any property, no worries. Why? These are some properties which we actually don't require. These we are doing to set up our background. Okay, background and stuff. These property really won't affect our design. Just in terms of, you can say, layout. These are not something which is very important at this point. These are being done just because of the fact that this looks nice. Even if you don't do them, it will look fine without even them. So if you don't include these properties of scroll behavior of smooth, it would work fine. I'm saying box sizing of border box, which I don't require. I have only included that. And I say WebKit font smoothing. So what does it actually do? It just does nothing. It just smooths the font, whatever content you are seeing, whatever text you are seeing, it is just a little bit smoother. Anti-aliased. So if you check your output at this point, there will be no change. There will be nothing at this point. Now, something important which you would like to talk about, or which you would like to, worry about, which is this scroll bar. I don't want this scroll bar. I don't want this scroll bar left to right. And on each of these pages, I don't even want this. So how to remove these? I don't want this scroll bars. Like I'm scrolling, I don't want these to be displayed. But still I want the functionality. So I want this to be hidden, but still I want the functionality. How can it be done? It can be done. At the same point, I want to change some design. So if I'm displaying this scroll bar, I want to change its design. So how to do that? You simply go here and you write custom scroll bar. So what we want to customize a scroll bar. It needs to look like a little different. How to do that? We write Webkit scroll bar. This is the you can say property which you want to trigger. What do I want to do? I want the scrolls bar's width to be only 10 pixels. So at this point, whatever scroll bar you see here, I want it only to be of 10 pixels wide. I don't want it to be this much wide. I'm setting that here. Inside other, which is Webkit scroll bar track. Webkit scroll bar track. I want background to be F1, F1, F1. So this is just a hash color. I'm writing a color for a code. As you can see, this is the color for which I wrote a code. This is known as hash code for colors. Then I want Webkit dash scroll bar dash thumb. So the thumbnail for displaying the scroll bar, I want its background color to be this. I am writing a hash code for it. So it looks something like grayish. And at the last, I'm writing one more property, which is Webkit scroll bar thumbnail. And when I hover over it, so what I'm doing, I'm writing a property that whenever I hover over it, what do I want to do when I hover over it? I want its background color to change from hash 888 to hash 555. So a little bit of light silver or dark silver. Let's run it. Let's save our code. Let's run it. Let's try to look for the output. If we go back and we refresh it, you would see that now we have a different type of scroll bar. Firstly, we have removed the existing scroll bar and now we have only scroll bar inside what you can see inside our card. So this is a scroll bar. You can see its design has changed. This is how my scroll bar looks. The design of the scroll bar has changed and this is how it looks. So it has come somewhat near what exactly our design needs to look like. Now we need to style the inner content. We'll talk about that. So yes, body before stays the same. Body stays the same. Media query, yes, stays the same. And then we have the main. We don't need to edit anything inside the main as well. But after that, I need to do something. What I need to do? This is my main card. So if you look here, this is what is my main card. And inside this main card, I don't want this scroll bar. I just customized it. But that was just because to show it to you how to customize it. But I really don't want this scroll bar. It looks weird. So I want it to be removed from this main container. So this is inside my main container. And I have, or you can say, this is inside my main tag. I want it to be removed. I want it to be hidden. And that can be done. So how to remove the scroll bar but still keep the functionality? So I want still myself to be able to scroll, but I want to hide this. How to do that? I'd simply go back. I'll add the bottom. Where do I have my scroll bar at this point? I have it inside my main tag. So I'll target with the help of element selector the main tag. Now let's say inside the main tag, I want to target WebKit scroll bar. I want to target WebKit scroll bar and I want to apply some properties to it. What do I want to do? I want to set its display to be none. What am I doing? I'm hiding it. How am I hiding it? I am specifying a property. So this is how you target your scroll bar inside any tag. So if you have a scroll bar present inside any tag or any div or any element, this is how you target it. And inside that, what do you need to do? You need to apply a display of none. So if I save it, if I run it, I go back, I would see that this would be gone, but I would still have its functionality. So if I refresh my page, yeah, so yes, you can see my scroll bar is now hidden, but still I have the functionality of scrolling. You can see I can scroll to top and bottom. I am going to the top as I am seeing huge images. Yes, you can see I can scroll to the top, bottom, left, right. Yeah, this is possible, but I don't have my scroll bar. So how you do it? With this simple property. Let's move further. We need to do it a little bit faster. What do I need to do? Now we need to design our nav bar. As you can see, our nav bar is not designed well. All our A tags and our nav bar, you can say heading or logo, is being displayed on two separate lines. I want them to be on left and right. So how can I do it? I want to apply display flex property. So what did I have? My nav bar with a class of, I had it with a class of nav bar. And inside that nav bar, I'm selecting with the help of a class selector. I want the display to be flex. So if I run it, what should happen? As we know, the default properties of display flex is row. So they should be in a single row. Let's refresh it again. Yes. So if we go to the top, again, let's first remove this. Yes. Now let's go to the top page. Top of it. Yes, you can see they are in a single line. Right, they are in a single line, but still now they are not aligned in, you can say, vertical direction. How to align them in vertical direction? You can use something known as align items. You can use a property known as align items and set it to center. So now they will be in vertically center. Then I also specify justify content. And what do I want them to? I want them to have space in between. So apply two properties, and now if you refresh the page, if you go back, if you refresh the page, you would see that they are in a good shape now. They look somewhat similar to what we were trying to achieve. Yeah, they look somewhat similar to it. But till now, I don't see the space in between. Why do I not see the space in between? I still specified justify content to be space between. The reason, because at this point, the width of the nav bar is only from left here to right here. Only this much is the width. I want it to take 100% width. So what will I have to do? I would first have to specify that it needs to take 100% width. And then I want one more thing. I want it to have a border at the bottom. I want it to have a border at the bottom. And how do I want it to look like? I want it to be a 1.5 pixel thick. It should be solid border. And it should have a color of RGB. So these are different methods of applying colors. And I want it to be 35%. No need to worry about it. You can write a simple color name as well. Red, green, blue, yellow, white, and it would work as well. These are some different formats in which you can apply colors. RGB is red, green, blue format. So if I refresh the page, you should see the final layout of how our nav bar should look. Yeah, it looks pretty much like a nav bar now, but still I have to do some tweaks, some updates. Let's do it. So we go here. Now we were only targeting the main div. Now we need to style the inner components. So we write nav bar, and inside the nav bar, I have a h1. And with that, I want to chain another. I want two things to have the same design. So I'm selecting the nav bar h1, and inside the nav bar, we have navigation menu. These two things to have the same styles. What are the styles? I want them to have a margin of 10 pixels. Let's move further. We'll talk about what they do and what are they actually adding. Let's move further. Then we have inside the nav bar something known as navigation menu. And inside that we have A tags. So all the A tags on the right, they have a container navigation menu, a class navigation menu. Inside that I'm selecting all the selectors. I'm saying I want them to have a padding of 5 pixels and 10 pixels. So I'm writing two types of padding, or you can say two, 5 pixel and 10 pixel. So 5 pixel is the padding which is being applied to x-axis, and 10 pixels is the padding which is being applied to the y-axis. So if you write two, you can say sizes in single padding, it means that it is applying 5 pixels in the x-axis and 10 pixels in the y-axis. On the top and bottom 10 pixels, on the left and right 5 pixels. Then we need a margin only on the left. So we can apply margin only on the left with the help of margin left. Then we have text decoration. Then we have something known as text decoration, and I want it to be none. What is text decoration? Initially, if you see any of the A tags, anchor tags, they are blue in color. But what do I want? I don't want them to be blue in color. I don't want them to be initially blue in color. So I write, I don't want a text decoration. I don't want any decoration on all the anchor tags. And I want their color to be black. I want their display to be inline block. So if we apply these styles and if we run them, we go back here, we refresh the page and we wait for the output. Yeah, you can see that they look little bit more familiar, but as you see now, we still don't have the hover effect. We still don't have the hover effect. So how to add the hover effect? So someone is asking what is WebKit? So actually all the browsers have something known as WebKit, and WebKit is what makes it possible for you to target some elements from the web. What are the elements from the web? Like the scroll bar. The scroll bar you see, it is actually not the part of your, you can say, website. It is the part of the browser. So to target that in any website, you need to use WebKit. Let's move back and let's style a little bit more. So as at this point, you can see that I have a good design, but when I hover over a particular anchor tag, I don't get that hover effect, the background to be white. How to add that? I'll simply write here, I'll simply write at the bottom, navigation menu. Inside the navigation menu, I want to select the A tag and I want to apply hover property. So when I hover over any of the anchor elements, so I'm saying on anchor element, if I hover, then what do I want to do? Don't worry about transition and what it does, because you can see it is a little bit advanced property. It is used for animation. Is in out 300 milliseconds. What is this exactly saying? It is saying I want to apply these properties on hover, but I want them to have a delay of, or you can say my animation, whatever your properties are applying, these should be applied in the time span of 300 milliseconds. So what I want to do, I want to set the background color or background to be of white. Yes, but how do I want that? I want that to happen inside 300 milliseconds. So what will it change? If I refresh the page, and if I hover over them, you can see there are some hover styles being applied over each of them, but you can see the color is appearing slightly after some time. The delay is 300 milliseconds. Let's move further. So let's talk about media only screen. So what we are doing, we are applying media query. We are saying that I want to apply media query, and what media query I want to apply at? I want to apply it at 760 pixels. What do I want to do? I want to target navigation menu. I want to target the navigation menu class, and I want to display it to none. So what does it mean? I'm saying that I want some media query to be applied. What does media query mean? It means that if my screen size reduces to 760 pixels or smaller than that, then I want the navigation menu. Wherever I have this class, navigation menu, I want it to be hidden. I want it not to be displayed. How to do that? I am saying navigation menu, display it to none. So if I run the code, if I go back, if I refresh it, you would say I have the navigation bar, right? Because it is still not smaller than 760 pixels. But the time I reduce the size, if I try to shrink the size more, so the time it reaches 760 pixels and beyond that, you see my right side, or you can say the right side content of the navigation automatically hides itself. It does not display itself. So how it is happening? With the help of the media query. Inside the media query, I specified that I want to target this class, and inside that class I want to have a property display of none. So this is being applied the time my screen reaches 760 pixels and beyond that. Guys, I will be providing you with the source code and stuff. Don't worry about that. Let's now move to the hero section. Guys, I am not opening the HTML file because I have already taught that and how to create that. So I'm assuming that you know all the classes. And if you don't, you can refer to them earlier. It's just that we just have a little bit less time in today's class, and that's why I'm not explaining every single stuff. We need a margin in the hero section. So what are we targeting at this point? This is our hero section. This image, and after this image, this content. This is our hero section. I'm targeting that. So I'm saying in the hero section, I want a margin of, I want a margin of 2 rem and 0. So I'm applying a margin of 2 rem on left and right and 0 on top and bottom. I'm saying that I want the width to be 100%. So it means I want it to take the whole width. I want the display to be flex. Why do I want the display to be flex? Because I want the image to be on left, and I want the content, my name and my surname, to be on the right. Then I have something known as flex wrap. And inside the flex wrap, I need it to wrap. So what does it mean? This property, as we discussed previously, flex wrap means, so if we don't have extra space to display the content, it would move to the next line or shift to the bottom. So if we don't have more space to show the name and the designation, it would move at the bottom of the image. Align items to be of type center and justify content to be of type center. So not center, actually, we would like it to be spaced evenly. What does space evenly mean? Space evenly means space it in a way that you have equal spacing left on the left and the right. So if we refresh the page, we look at the output. This is what we see. You can see we have it on the left, we have it on the right. And the time we are not able to show this content, it moves to the next line, right? But we have still not styled the image and the content. Let's style that. What we need to do, we go back to the hero section, and at the bottom we made a class to target profile image, which is profile image. Inside the profile image, I write width to be 350 pixels, height to be 350 pixels. I'm specifying that the width of the image is 350 pixels, the height of the image is 350 pixels. Object fit to be cover, and object position to be center. Let's look at what these both are doing. And border radius of 5 pixel. So initially, if you look at the output, you see the corners are sharp, right? The image is being displayed in a very huge scale. So if I refresh the page and if I look for it, right, you can see now my image looks better. Now my image is 350 in the width, 350 in the height. I've specified something known as object fit and object cover and object center. So if I remove that, if I play it, if I refresh the page again, there is no difference, right? There is no difference. You see why? Because my image is perfectly square at this point. But if the time I increase the height to be 500, I want it to be 550 pixels. If I refresh the page with a width of 550 pixels, what do you see? My image is shattered. It looks weird, right? It looks ajib. So how to fix this? You can fix this with these two properties, which is object fit cover and object position center. What are they two saying? They're saying that in the output, if my image is getting shattered, then crop it, then zoom it out, scale it according to the width and height, and always keep my image center to be at the diff center. So if I run it and I refresh it, you would see that even when my diff size is weird, my image does not look, you can say, smushed. You can say it looks perfect. So we had some additional space, we had some additional image, and it has automatically cropped the image according to the width. So only these two properties, and you can say image becomes responsive. Let's move further and we talk about hero section. So if I move at the top, and have we specified hero section anywhere till now? Not yet. Find it. Yes, we have specified hero section here, and we have given it a margin. I think let's look inside index.html that what is the hero section named as. So after the div, okay, with a capital S, fine. So inside here we specify that it needs to be a capital S, and inside the hero section yes, we have done it. Profile image we have targeted. Now we need to target inside the hero section details. So what do we need to do? We write here inside the hero section we have something known as details. And what does this contain? This contains the text. So I'm saying I want the text to be aligned to center. So what is this? This is the div for my name and my designation. Inside the hero section details, I have something known as h1. And inside the h1, I want the font size. I want the font size to be 50 pixels. I want the font size to be 50 pixels. Margin to be 10 pixels. That's it. And if I run it, if I go back, if I refresh the page, you would see that my font for my h1 would be increased now and would be looking better. Yes. You can see my font size for the h1 is increased, and they both are centralized. So we have a div outside it, and inside that they have them in the center. See, basically it's hit and try. So I found this to be, you can say, easy, or you can say I found them to be, yeah, they look good for me, and that's why I selected them. It's hit and try. You try different pixel sizes, and you can say try different image sizes and different things, and then you specify that what design looks better for me, and then you go with it. Totally depends on you, as you are the designer, or you can say the creator. Then we are talking about the about me. What do we have in about me? About me may we don't need to do a lot of stuff. We just need to add a margin target and a text, a line of center. So what is about me section? If we go back at this point, we don't have any styles for about me section. You can see this is the about me section. What are we doing here? We are just adding some padding so that it looks somewhat similar to it. It has some similar spacing on left and right. And then the content, I want it to be centralized from the center, starting from the center. So how I do it? I just target the class, which is about me, and then I add a margin of 1 rem to top and bottom, left and right, and text align of center. So if we go back, we have refreshed the page. You can see it looks similar. It looks good. We have somewhat equal spacing on left and right. We have good amount of spacing on top and bottom. And yeah, you can see that this looks great. This looks fine. And if you select any one of them, you can see they are targeting to their specific positions. Let's move further. So about me section already designed. Let's move to the main major section, which is skills and projects. In skills and projects, I firstly want the margin to be 1 rem. Without any doubt, this is what we have been doing in everyone. I want its display to be flex, as I want the skills one to be at the left, the projects to be at the right. Sorry, we can use something known as grid. So now we will be using something known as grid. Okay, not flex, we would be using something known as grid. So how to use grid? You specify that I want it to be a grid. So you say in display, I want it to be grid. And in the second line, you specify grid template column. So you want them to be in a column format. What do you want them to be in a column format? Like, I want whatever my first content is to take a 50% width. This is the name of the content, which is 1. I automatically specified it myself. Then I have the other content which I am naming as 2, and I want it to take 50%. Then I move to the another line. I specify grid spacing, or you can say grid gap, and I want it to be 10 pixels. Then I specify align items to be center. We will be getting into more detail about what all of these are doing. Justify content center, and then I want the width to be of the format calculate 100% minus 2 rem. We'll talk about what this is doing. So if we go back, if we refresh the page, let it just refresh. Yes, you can see on the left we have skills. On the left we have all the skills. And on the right we have projects, but they are not being displayed in a, you can say, accurate format. The reason being the images are very large. So let's first tackle the images and then let's talk about what grid is exactly doing. Then we have something known as a media query, which is only for screen and maximum width of 720 pixels. What I want to do, I want to target skills and projects. I want to change them to a grid template columns to be of single, and I want them to take 150%, and I want the grid template rows to take 1 and 2. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about what exactly they are doing, but it won't be, understandable until we get the final design. We'll talk about it, but until we decrease the size of each image, it would be hard to understand because you won't be able to see the final layout. So let's talk about it after we decrease the size of each image. Skills and projects. Inside the skills and projects, I want to target skills, and then inside skills and project, I want to target projects. So they both have same styles. That's why I've selected both of them. Inside the skills and projects, I want to select skills, and in the other, I want to select projects. I am writing a minimum width of 250 pixels. So as you saw earlier that we had two cards, a project card on the left, left scales card, and on the right projects card. So I want them to have a minimum width of 250 pixels. So it means that when I'm shrinking the size, they need to have a minimum width of 250 pixels. Their size cannot shrink more than 250 pixels. That's what I'm specifying with the help of property minimum width. Then I want them to have a margin of 1 rem. And then I want the minimum height of them to be of 250 pixels. Then let's target skills and projects. Inside the skills and projects, let's target skills. And then again, inside the skills and projects, let's target the projects. And we have to add some properties into it. What are the properties? I want each of them to have a display of flex. Flex wrap, as I want to content to wrap to the new line. Then I want the align items to be at the center. Then I want justify content to be at the center. Then I want the align items to be at the center as well. And the background color to be let's say I want it to be RGB 31. Yeah, I don't want align item. I want here something known as align content. Then I want something known as border. Border should be 1 pixel, solid in color, solid, and then a RGBA of the same. Then I want a border dash radius of 5 pixel, a padding of 1 rem, and a margin bottom of 2 rem. So let's look at the output. Let's just run it. Refresh the page. Still now we have not targeted the images and we have not decreased the size. But yeah, you can see now we have the card layout. We have the card layout, and inside each of the card, you can see we have some content. Still the images, see align content. What does align content do? Align content aligns the content in the vertical direction, in the y-axis, whereas align items align themselves or the item inside it. So if we go here, if we go back, if we keep it again in the format, we go back, we go here, we are saying that all the items inside this skills, inside this you can say tag skills, I want them to be at the center in y direction. And align content is a little bit different. It is saying if I have some content, then I want it to be at the center, not the items, the content. Let's target the card heading as well. So the card heading basically is the display inline ki jagah we need it to be display block. I want each one of them today a width of 90%. I want them to have a margin of 0, and I want a margin bottom of 1 rem. Now it's time to target the images. Rem is you can say relative unit. We talked about it, guys. If you were present in the class when we talked about CSS, we did talk about what rems are, what EMs are, what percentages. So inside the skills and projects, inside that we have an image, and then we target it. Let's finally target the images so that we get a good shape. 60 pixels. I want them to be of 60 pixels. Height to be of 60 pixels as well. Height to be of 60 pixels. Margin bottom to be of 15 pixels. And margin right to be of 15 pixels as well. So one more thing at this point, we also add the hover effects. So if I hover over any of the image, I get some effects, right? So to add them, I target again skills. Inside that I target image, and I add something known as hover over it. What I want them to do on hover, I want to have a transition of ease in of 300 milliseconds. So I want my animation to last 300 milliseconds. What do I want to happen? I want to transform, I want to scale it. I want to decrease the size. I want to zoom out of it. How much? 0.85. So 85%. From 100%, I want its size to decrease to 85%. We need a cursor of pointer. So let's look at the output and let's figure out what we have done. So we have decreased the image sizes. So if we refresh, yes, at the bottom, you can see they look something like, right? So let's now, we have a good shape. Now let's talk about what is grid. because we have still we have a good chip. We'll tackle these images later. So when we said I want the display to be of grid, it acts similar to flex. I'm saying the outer container to be of a grid format, and grid is similar to the table format which you see inside Excel sheets, row and column format. Similarly, we have grids which act similar to the row and column format. What I'm saying, initially, if I go back, if I look at it, yes, I say display grid. So I want them to be of a table format, 2D format. And I'm saying that the initial direction of the flow is columns. In grids, the column is this, a single column. And inside the single column, what I want the first element inside the grid to take 50% space. So it is taking 50% space. Then I want the second item to take a space of 50%. So I can say the left item and the second item, first, second item, both are taking 50% space. Then I'm specifying that grid gap needs to be 10 pixels. It means the gap between them should be 10 pixels wide. So grid acts exactly like flex. And then in the grid, I don't have something like which we had inside flex, which is flex wrap, which automatically wraps your content to the new line. So I needed to create a media query. So what did I do inside a media query? I said the time it reaches, the screen size reaches 720 pixels and below it. What do I want to do? I want the skills and projects grid column to be 100%. So I want the time it shrinks to 720 pixels and above that. When it shrinks more, then I want this first card to take 100% width, the second card to take 100% width. And what does 100% mean? It means that this would contain the whole width and this would shift to the new line. So if I reduce the size to smaller than 720 pixels, yeah, you can see it automatically goes to the new line. So what it is saying, now the first content takes 100% width, the second content takes 100% width. That's what I specified in the media query. I said the time, the width decreases from 720 pixels and below. What is media query? Media queries are something because of which, or you can say CSS properties through which you can target, or you can do some stuff on the basis of the width and height of the viewport. So this is the viewport, right? This is where you can see, this is the screen where you can see the output. This is the viewport for you. So with the change in the height, or you can see width, I want to do some certain stuff. I want to display something. I want to hide something from the screen. You can see I'm hiding this section. When the size reduces to something, I have hidden the right section. So you can do that with the help of something known as media query. Yeah, we have some other settings in the mobile. That's why we use flex. So this section goes to the bottom. This content moves to the bottom. When you move it to a phone view, you can see every section has wrapped itself. This is at the bottom. This is at the bottom. How did it happen? We use something known as flex and grid properties. That made it possible. Let's move further, and yeah, let's target the project container. Project container. So inside the project container, what do I want? I want to display to be of flex. I want the width of 90%. So I want it to occupy only 90% width. What do I want? I want the project container, and inside the project container I have something known as image. Inside the image, I want the width of it to be 60 pixels and height of it to be of 60 pixels as well. And I want a padding on the right of 10 pixels. So at this point, you can see that these images are big inside the project. So this is the one which we are targeting. Okay guys, let me share with you that attendance link, guys. Just wait for a sec. I'm opening a new tab. Yes guys, this is the attendance link for today. If I zoom it a little, yes, this is the attendance link. Guys, take a screenshot fast. Yes, we are hiding the nav bar when we are on the, you can say, mobile screen. Just fast take the screenshot. No, I can't give it in this chat box, guys. Sorry. If I provide it in the chat box, anyone can copy it. Done? Okay, great. Guys, if you don't find it, and if you really did attend the class, just rewind in the video later and take it. Yup. So let's move back. We have added the styles for the image. Project container. We go to the project container. We go inside the project. Description. And inside that we have a H4. I want its margin to be 0. That's it. And I go inside it again, but this time I target the paragraph. So as we know that in a project, in a single project, I have a heading, the project name, and then I have a paragraph. I want my paragraph to have 0 margin and a margin on the bottom to be of 1 rem. So if I run it, if I go back, I refresh the page. Yes, you can see we have the exact format which we wanted. We have a projects link. As you can see, we applied same styles on these both headings, and therefore we have those. If you want to see the hover effect, if I hover over any one of them, its size reduces to 85% of the existing 100%. Yes, 85. And it zooms in, and it happens inside the time period of 300 milliseconds, because as we specified it, right? You can see on the left, I have, you can say, a project logo or a company logo where I made that project for, a project name and project description. And at the bottom, we have some spacing. Yes, you can use some property known as sticky. So if you use a sticky property, then this nav bar would stay here even while you zoom, right? But I tried it. I also had that in mind, guys. The reason I'm not using sticky here is the point you make it sticky. The point you make it sticky, the time you scroll, you would still see that section here. And because it is transparent, you will be able to see this images and everything behind that. So we will make, at the end, we will make this section sticky, and let's see what happens if I make this section sticky. How does it look? We'll do that. Let's first finish it. We have only few sections left. Contact form. So the last section is left, contact form. What do I want to do? I want to apply a margin of 2 rem on all the directions. Then I want its width to be calculated. So a width, I'm writing width in calculation. You can say proper mathematical calculations while specifying a width. I want कि 100% width में से remove 4 rems. As we know कि 4 rem is a relative width, and maybe I don't know the exact value of 4 rem in percentage. So I'm saying कि 100% में से remove 4 rems and then apply that width. How can you do that? With the help of calc function. Inside the calc brackets, you specify out of 100%, I want to remove 4 rem of percentage in the percentage, and then apply that width. I want a background, actually a background color. I want a background color. I want it to be of RGB 2531. I want it to have a border, and the border should be 1 pixel, solid, and RGB 31. Yes. Then I have to have a border dash radius of 5 pixel, and then I want a padding of 1 rem. So what did I do? I just added a background color. So if you see it, if you try it out, you would see that's similar to the color which we have for these cards, right? The color which we have for these cards, the same way we have the same color for our contacts card as well. That's what I've done till now. I have added some padding, some border radius. I've calculated the width automatically with the help of calc function. I've already provided with the attendance link, guys. In the contact form, you have something known as form group. I want to target that, and I want to add a margin at the bottom of 1 rem. So what am I saying? This is my form group. The form group contains the label and on the bottom index, or you can say input. So I'm saying after each form group, I want to have a margin at the bottom of 1 rem. So if I refresh it, you would see I have some spacing on the bottom. Guys, if can anyone tell me if every one of you are facing the same problem with the attendance link? Anyone, guys? Or if the attendance link is working fine? We go to the form group. It's working fine, right? We go into the form group. Okay, fine. Inside the form group, we target the text area, and inside the text area, I give it a width of 100%. I want each of my input fields and everything to have a width of 1%. At this point, they are not taking 100% width. So I'm saying I want them to take a width of 100%. I want a padding of 5 pixels on the x-axis, 10 pixels on top and bottom. I want a margin. I want a margin at the top of 5 pixel, and I want a font weight of 600. Then at the bottom, I want to target the submit button. Inside the submit button, I want a padding of 10 pixels and 20 pixels. I want a font weight of 600, and I want a font size of 15 pixels. Guys, the reason you might have found that the form link is not available or not found is maybe you might have typed something wrong inside the form link. Just check it again. I want to go into the media. I want to add some media query. I want to go to the media. I want to target the screen. Inside the screen, media only screen. And then I want to add a tag of max width. So the time I reach 450 pixels and below that, I want to do something. What do I want to do? I want the profile image to reduce its size. I want the profile image to have something. What do I want? Its width should be reduced by 450 pixels. Its height should also be reduced by 450 pixels. Its object fit should remain okay. No need of that. And yeah, nothing else needed in the profile image. That's fine. Then I target the hero section. Hero section details. I target H1. I target the font size. It needs to be 30 pixels. I target the margin at the top. I want it to be 1.5 rem. And I want a margin bottom. And I want it to be of 0 rem. Right. Guys, you will get your certificates. Whosoever is eligible, they will get their certificates as emails. Hero section details, I want to target h1 inside it as well. I want its font size to be of 20 pixels, margin to be of 0, and font weight of 400. So let's refresh it and let's look for the output. Do we get the required output? Let's look for it. Yes. So if we go to the bottom, yeah, we are getting the output, but we are not applying the styles to the two of them. Why? Because maybe I mentioned wrong name, INPUT. Yeah, this is not a class. That's the problem. If I refresh the page once again, I should see the output. Yes, I have everything completed. We have completed the portfolio. If we resize it, if we take to the full screen, yes, it's looking fine. Great. If we reduce the size, to the mobile screen, it still looks fine. It still looks good. Right. And yeah, someone was asking that what if we do the position to be sticky? So if we make the nav bar sticky, right? Let's make it. Let's try it out. Let's test it. I opened my Chrome developer tools. I select the navigation bar, nav bar. I say its position to be sticky. I specify the top to be 0 pixels. Yes. So now you see my nav bar would say at this place and it won't move. You can see it is not moving, right? This is much more useful, right? But you would see that the background, because of which I am facing an issue. I have a, you can say, free background, or you can say transparent background. So that's why I'm facing a problem. If you want to do something like this, if you want it to be sticky, then what can you do is change the background color of the nav bar. Change the background color, keep it something similar to it. But yeah, so let's keep the background to be white, something better if we find. No. We found a color which was suiting our preference. Let's keep it this for now. Okay. I know it looks weird, but now for this. So I can see I have added a background, right? A background to the navigation bar. Now you won't face that issue because now it is not transparent. So if I scroll, you can see it still looks fine. It still looks great. If I click on any of these, I get to the respective tags, right? But I prefer it to be normal. I prefer it to be only at the top. And see guys, I on my own individual basis, I did not have the scroll bar, right? If you feel that that is important, I need that scroll bar so that user gets to know that yeah, there is more section on my pages, you can do that. But I didn't find it helpful. Why? Because I already have sections marked on the top, which make him capable of understanding that yeah, there are more sections to this page. And I can scroll down, or maybe if it doesn't scroll down, he can click on any one of them and he will get redirected to those sections. Got it? So what I'll do is I've created a Notion link for you guys. Let me just find out if I have that Notion link with me, and I'll share that with you so that you have the HTML and CSS part of that. Yes, I have the link. So guys, this is the link. Okay, so I am sharing you guys the link for the HTML and CSS. This is a Notion link which contains the HTML code and the CSS code. So if any one of you is interested in that, you can find it out. I have pinned it at the top. So you can find that, and if any one of you wants the code, you can access it. It is free, accessible by any one of you. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Thank you for being with me for these 7 days. We have talked about a lot of things. And yeah, thank you guys. Have a nice day. Good evening, guys.